Cartoon All-Stars to the Rescue is the powerful story of a teenager dealing with drug and alcohol abuse.
And some of your favorite cartoon characters will help you understand how drugs and alcohol can ruin your life. So watch the program. Talk about it with your family.
And make the right
Hell do you guys even know about drugs?
I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Unfortunately, Mr. Domo, I must inform you you aren't going to witness much drug use within the medium of anime. While many series appear to be on something, locating drugs in anime is like trying to find Waldo while under the influence of PCP. Those familiar with me might ask why I'd do a video on drugs when my only experience using them was that one time I overdosed on Flintstones vitamins and Red Bull. I thought that's what the cool kids were talking about when they said they were getting stoned. Putting that aside, there are much more important questions to be asked. Those being, why is it that drugs show up so infrequently in anime series? And how exactly are they portrayed in those rare instances? Is Smokey the Bear secretly controlling the anime industry from behind the scenes?
Dude, Smokey the Bear's all about preventing forest fires, not drugs.
With a borderline zero-tolerance policy, Japan's laws regarding drugs make even America look like a Seth Rogen movie. Japanese businesses and companies also uphold that severely strict treatment of drugs. Those working in the anime and video game industries of Japan greatly signify why that is so. In one incident, a small amount of cocaine was discovered in the home of Ai Takabe, a voice actor for the anime Kill Me Baby. After her arrest, she was dropped from her agency, and the Bandai channel announced that it was no longer streaming anime that she starred in, nor would those series continue to be on Amazon Video. They even went through the effort of removing Ai's name from the credits of the official Kill Me Baby website. Basically just erase this poor woman's entire existence. Kinda makes you wonder if Rem was really a coke-addicted maid all along. In 2012, the composer for Kaiji and Death Note, Hideki Tanachi, was arrested for cannabis possession because an old woman he had been selling it to for years ratted him out to the police. And well, the poor lad hasn't made anything since. There's just one thing I gotta know though. Remember how Light dramatically wrote down names while the Death Note OST played? Did he roll blunts in the same manner to that music? Examining other industries led me to other examples, such as pop idols getting their careers completely cancelled. The Japanese government once even put the Beatles member Paul McCartney in a jail cell for 10 days, after he was found possessing marijuana by the customs staff in a Tokyo airport.
I need somebody help, not just anybody help. You know I need someone help.
To understand how Japan became so drastically draconian over drugs, we'll need to ingest some magic mushrooms to warp back to the 1940s, a time when the United States was occupying Japan after defeating them in World War II. The US had carried their own harsh rules on drugs over to Japan. After leaving, America slowly got more progressive on drugs over time, but Japan has mostly carried on the policies that were imposed upon them. Leave it to the good old USA to ruin everything again. Can we get a real-life Netflix reboot of Pearl Harbor or something? As for the new rules introduced into Japan, most notable was the Cannabis Control Act of 1948, a law that has prevented the growth or possession of weed. Today, you aren't even allowed to study the plant for medical uses. That's such a shame, because, maybe that blonde bitch from Your Lie in April wouldn't have suffered so much. It isn't just recreational drugs that are outcasted from the island of Japan. Many prescription drugs aren't tolerated either. On one occasion, English teacher Carrie Russell was put in a woman's detention center for prescription Adderall that was mailed to her from the USA. This took a lot of diplomatic pressure to have her freed from. So, you pair all these incidents of drugs turning people into outcasts with stuff like most anime being targeted towards underage audiences and Japanese society's heavy focus on work and strong family values, I can see why anime authors barely ever include drugs in their stories, whether that being intentional or not, due to potentially being so sheltered from them.
Are you on drugs or alcohol?
No, sir.
Do you take drugs or alcohol?
What is drugs?
Now that I've flexed my history teacher skills, how exactly are drugs depicted in anime in the rare instances they show up? Sure, there's plenty of alcohol and cigarettes in anime, but both are perfectly legal in Japan. Unless you're Jotaro Kujo, whose cigarette was censored in the original Japanese broadcast of JoJo Stardust Crusaders. The poor lad, it looks like someone smeared Mr. Popo across his face. Of the instances I found of drugs in anime, it seems that many of the authors have taken a cautious approach by making new ones up. This doesn't shock me, considering Japan treats drugs like an alcoholic cop treats his wife. In the anime Gangsta, the fictional drug called Celeber increases the user's speed and strength. Gangsta seems to use it to show how drug abusers can pass down addiction and several problems to their children, as children of Celeber users exhibit violent tendencies while also requiring the drug to survive. Code Geass has Refrain, a hallucinogenic drug that causes one to relive happy past experiences. It was introduced by the Bretonnian Empire as a means of luring their people into compliance. I'm unsure whether it was intentional, but this portrayal doesn't seem too far off from real-life governments that brought drugs into certain communities and locations for their own monetary gains. Drug dealers and drug cartels play a minor role in Durara. A gang known as Heaven Slave concocted a highly potent drug that shares their name. The group appears to be made up of some sadistically shady individuals, as they are shown aggressively trying to sell some Heaven Slave to two defenseless girls in a bathroom. Overall, it mostly feels like a degrading depiction of drugs. Additionally, a prominent Yakuza character beats the shit out of them for it, and then reminds them that drugs are illegal in Japan.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Other notable examples include Real Life's youth-restoring pills, Joe's dark and painful addiction to an unknown medication in Megalobox, and those 3-colored pills in Naruto that acted like a steroid.
Hey Pac-Man, what's up?
Hey you bitches, I'm high on crack. Want a freebie?
No Pac-Man, drugs are bad.
Pussies! Whoa! Holy shit!
Real deal drugs. They sadly appear at an even more sparse rate. My personal favorite is when the main cast of Cowboy Bebop munches on some mushrooms, unaware that they are of the hallucinogenic variety, seeing fish in the bathroom, repeatedly walking up the same stair, having philosophical conversations with some trees. That was mad hilarious. Now, despite the mushrooms being illegal in the show, I'd say this is one of anime's most humorous and lacks drug depictions, which are rare. They even make the dog feel included. Dogs don't know it's not normal mushrooms. However, the most positive depiction of drugs probably belongs to Samurai Champloo, when a field of marijuana plants is set ablaze as battles and an execution are taking place. A gust of purple haze causes everyone to cease any aggressive actions. The smoke then spreads to the villages, which makes everyone burst out with joy and laughter. Many peaceful amends are made. This is somewhat of an extreme example of cannabis's positive effects, but this is still hella hilarious. They technically referred to it as devil's cabbage in the show, but come on, let's face it, that's for sure weed. The TV ratings people won't know it's real weed. You can tell how cautious some anime want to be with drugs, with how subtly they're depicted, like in Clannad and Assassination Classroom. One of the main characters in Clannad struggles with heroin addiction, yet all that's really shown is a quick single frame of some needle sores on his arm. Ass Class's main character questions someone if what they're smoking is an ordinary cigarette. This gets unanswered, but I'm positive it's meant to be pot. He then preaches that it could ruin their life. Sometimes manga will contain drug use that gets mostly or completely deleted in their anime counterpart. For instance, Nana's anime removes Ren's heroin addiction, which is unfortunate as it would have been one of the most serious and realistic portrayals of hard drug use in an anime. Because he's a musician, Ren adamantly avoids hospital trips, as any visits there would attract media publicity, putting his career in jeopardy. This is definitely a reflection of what happens to celebrities in real life that are caught with drugs in Japan. And here it is, the most ridiculous representation of drugs in anime, ladies and weebs. Ikebukuro, Westgate Park. This one shows just how stupid some people are in Japan regarding pot. A series that revolves around a city loaded with violent gangs, some of which dabble in the underground marijuana market. This guy here? This is supposed to be a man under the influence of Mary Jane. He's also being pursued by the main character who has a smoking kill shirt. I mean, I wouldn't mess with this guy. His drip makes Supreme look like clothes for pussies.
場合によっては痙攣、心拍数の増加、呼吸困難、血圧低下、脳に障害を負うこともある。脳細胞が崩れて溶けていくんだよ。
I don't know about you, but that makes it sound more appealing to me. Coal Shirt Man then locates the shop where the weed was from, along with the room it's being grown in. Dude, this guy gets so shook from it that he looks like he just walked into his married father snorting cocaine off of a hooker's ass. I mean, how could someone grow something so sinister? And then cue the anti-drug small child, because who better to take down drugs than Moe itself? Yeah, I mean, if you want another Samurai Champloo situation where all the gangs go on to live happily ever after, I'm okay with this anime ending like that. Other notable examples of real drugs in anime include cocaine in Charlotte, Ritalin in Black Lagoon, and in Sarazanmai, a sneaky cat that steals a dime bag of weed. Hey, you jealous? Lastly, there are edible items that technically weren't considered a drug, but essentially act like one. Stuff like rare candies or senzu beans. And devil fruits? Please, I wasn't born yesterday. Those are clearly marijuana strains that someone painted as fruits as a scam. There is no One Piece. The Straw Hats are just stoned as shit. Oda played you guys like a fiddle. So beyond all those occurrences of drugs in anime, there aren't many more outside of them. Thus, it's been up to weebs to put them in their rightful place through the use of dank memes and half-assed photoshops. Who could forget these dope-ass anime opening parody animations, Nietzsche Joint and Weed La Weed? Snoop Dogg would be proud. If you aren't a pesky Zoomer, you likely remember the wave of anti-drug PSAs and propaganda that were shown on TV or at school, especially from that damn DARE group. No, I don't mean dubbed anime resistance education. I mean drug abuse resistance education. Well, whoever designed their website certainly wasn't resisting drugs. DARE was notorious for bombarding us with all sorts of misinformation on drugs. Although looking back, I wouldn't call it particularly effective. If there was one thing that anti-drug groups in America did that was actually clever, it was their decision to utilize popular American cartoon characters to assist with anti-drug projects. Cartoon All-Stars. Man, I thought that special was so badass as a kid. I mean, how could I ever smoke after that? I just couldn't let Garfield down. As for Japan using anime to help prevent drug use, I was stunned to have found such a small dosage. This included things such as these mildly anime-styled anti-drug posters. This manga about the effects addiction has on your life that was made by the author of Kaiji at the request of Japan's Office of Public Relations. That's kind of ironic considering that the composer of Kaiji's OST would go on to be arrested for weed-related charges. And my personal favorite discovery, this anti-drug campaign that the cast of Attack on Titan made at the request of the Tokyo Metropolitan Government. This ad here states, all of humanity fights dangerous drugs. Screw you, I'm turning into a Titan. Finally, there's this wacko animation where two Japanese children get inspired by this subpar CGI knight to say no to these insane talking bat creatures made up of marijuana. They are easily defeated by the children simply shouting at them. Damn, I wish I could have just done that for my mom's opioid addiction. And the potential to do even crazier shit is endless, especially when you look at what America has done with cartoons. Remember that horrendously awful anti-pot PSA where the girl is completely deflated on the couch from smoking? Well, hey, do that, but with all might when he deflates into his weaker form. Yu-Gi-Oh? Just tell kids that taking acid will send them to the Shadow Realm. Well, that's technically possible in a sense. Speaking of Yu-Gi-Oh, boy have I got a treat for you. Yes, this is real.
I know marijuana is harmful. I know it can't improve my game. My friends and I have faced many battles, and we have always dueled without drugs. I wouldn't be the world's best duelist if I smoked marijuana. It would disappoint my friends and lower my concentration. And losing control with drugs is one duel I don't want to have. I must stay healthy and keep my friends close if I want to defeat my opponent's monsters. I will never dishonor myself or my friends by using drugs. That's playing a game I can't win. Honor. My anti-drug.
My anti-drug is Pot of Greed. It allows me to dab 2 times at once. Classic for kids. If drugs somehow squeezed their way into anime, there was a chance this American licensing company would kick them out. Don't they realize that the lollipop is still gonna hurt his teeth? To be fair to America, you can at least find a fair amount of cartoon-themed drug products there. Items such as Rick and Morty-themed bongs or SpongeBob-shaped ecstasy, whereas in Japan, you're unlikely to find any anime-related drug stuff. This is another overdose of missed potential. Like, just listen. Land of the Lustrous Meth Crystals. How about an FMA-themed bong using that dwarf in the flask? It carries the law of equivalent exchange. For every ounce of smoke you inhale, you have to exhale out an equal amount. Failure to do so may result in the loss of your arms, legs, mother, and your brother's ability to reproduce. And what if they used anime for drug commercials? Hey, need to forget the whole second half of Darling in the Franxx? Well, just down a whole bottle of our special Xanax, and you can forget the whole thing even happened. Something funny is that even though there are so few drugs in anime, there are so many series that have hella drug vibes or seem like the creators had to be on something. I'm talking about anime like Flip Flappers, Space Dandy, Tatami Galaxy, Cat Soup, FLCL, literally anything from the author of Penguin Drum. I mean, look at a series like Madoka and try to tell me that these young girls weren't balls deep on LSD. Or shows like Excel Saga and Pop Team Epic, where there's no way the creators weren't on multiple drugs at once. Though sometimes it wasn't the anime itself that felt druggish, but characters that seemed like they were intended to be stereotypical potheads or drug users, such as Hagakure from Danganronpa, Shikamaru in Naruto, and Stoner in Eureka 7. Yes, he's literally called Stoner. I wouldn't be shocked if a few of these anime were the authors secretly portraying drugs or their enjoyment for them.
I did DMT 3 times in a day.
So after all of my research and writings, I've continued to dwell on how disappointing it is that there aren't more drug-related anime, which would feel quite conceptually fresh in the medium. Sadly, it doesn't seem like Japan will be loosening its treatment of drugs anytime soon. So I pray we aren't stuck with the rare and half-assed portrayals, most of which feel negative and/or discreet. That's not to say I think there shouldn't be any negative depictions, but there are some drugs that shouldn't be so villainized, nor do drug users in anime always need to be looked at through such a degrading lens. Fortunately, there is a sliver of dope hope as drugs are becoming increasingly more accepted within North American and European countries, so maybe we'll see a drug-related anime that's funded through Crunchyroll or Netflix or something. Maybe the proceeds can go towards alcoholic rehab for victims of their live-action anime. There's also been more anime with drugs the past decade than there were all of before that, so that could be another good sign. Anyways, I'm not responsible for any of you Zoomers watching who got inspired from this video to make the poor life decision of watching Food Wars while you're extremely high. If you can say no to waifus with big jugs, you can say no to drugs. Which means you probably can't. What the hell happened? Hey! Is that the girl from Chainsaw Man?
I go, that's not wrong, Mom. Don't tell me that. You're on drugs. I go, no, Mom.